Welcome to the podcast of Salesforce channel here at CloudFest 2022 in Roost, Germany. We're here with Graham Crich from Veeam. Andrew Drama is my partner from Salesforce channel. Yep. And we like to have a short and sharp discussion about CloudFest, Veeam and all the innovations we see. To start, Graham, could you do an introduction of yourself and of Veeam?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Graham Crich. I'm the VP of Partner Services at Veeam. When we first met, I was VP of Cloud, but that's now changed to Partner Services, and I think that's probably a good way to intro what Veeam's doing. Very much it's about supporting our channel. We are the leading data management software in EMEA. We've been number one for the last several years, protecting all manner of workloads. Our focus now is how we support the channel through the change into hybrid cloud and even sovereign cloud, which is the latest buzzword we're all hearing about now, and how we help them to develop serviced and solution-led offerings. So that's really my role at Veeam.
Okay, you've been here on CloudFest. What do you see currently for innovations happening?
Innovations. I only been here for a day, but it's a little bit. I was at another event a couple of weeks ago called Cloud Expo in London, and very similar to here. Yes, there's all the old names that we come to expect that are going to be here, but there's also a lot of new names, and I saw the same thing at Cloud Expo. You walk around the exhibition hall, there's a few grey hairs around this table, not you. So
I don't have hair. Yes.
And we've been in the industry a long while, but there's still a lot of new names that you don't recognise, and a lot of those are based around security. That's one of the things that I've noticed, in the last, ransomware is a massive thing. Cybersecurity is huge. Yeah. A lot of vendors that seem to be coming into the market there.
Is there anything specific that stuck out?
No, that really was the main thing that stood out to me.
And what do you miss?
What do I miss here?
Yeah.
What, in terms of technology
or in terms of innovation, or what you could expect to be here?
I think one of the things that I've not seen here that I expected to see here was more of a presence from the hyperscalers. They're obviously very dominant in the North American market. They're becoming more dominant over here, but not as much as they are in North America. I would have expected to see some presence from Google, AWS, or Azure here. And I don't see that. And, if we look at a lot of the issues that are facing our service providers in the market today, it's around that multi-cloud management piece. And probably not as much of that as I would have expected to see, or not a major focus on it.
Okay, why do you think that is, that they are not here?
That's a really good question. I think they have a certain type of customer that they want to go after. And I don't think that demographic is represented at CloudFest. Plus, I think one of the main reasons is they have their own events.
Yeah. And
they attract massive audiences to their own events. If I look at the last AWS summit that was held physically in London, 12,500 people turned up to that, which is a huge amount of people. That's double the size of CloudFest.
You don't see that here. Yeah.
I think to move a little bit further with that, we just had an interview with one of the major Dutch hosting providers, and it used to be two separate worlds. You have the hyperscalers and you have the local hosting providers.
Yeah.
They are moving into a hybrid solution where the hyperscalers mix up with their platforms. It's something you hear across the board. Are these two markets converging?
They've already converged. The hyperscalers are present across most of EMEA. Azure probably more so than AWS, but AWS is catching up rapidly. So they've already merged.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But until not too long ago, the local hosters saw them really as the competitor, the bad animal coming up. And it seems that they're moving more close.
I've seen this through my last several roles. Who people perceive as a competition suddenly isn't the competition anymore because as always, there's a value add to put on top of that. The hyperscalers are really good at doing some vanilla stuff and scaling. But once a customer wants a specific SLA, once they want some additional services on the top, then they go to an expert to do that. Now, the service providers have always been the experts in doing that. And so they've had to develop to put services on top of the hyperscalers. And they then become the focal point for the customer. So they're the trusted advisor that the customer goes to. And I've seen this with the resellers as well recently. More of them have moved to offering services on hyperscalers. When you talk to those big resellers, what are the services that you're offering? Migration is obviously the first one.
Yep.
And let's face it, they're being funded massively by the hyperscalers to do that. The second one is constant cost management.
Yeah.
So continual assessment of the costs.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. That one's not funded by the hyperscalers as much, but it then puts that reseller in a position to say, maybe this isn't the best location for your workloads. Yes, we got you started on the cloud, we got you into the cloud, but not all of your workloads need to remain here. And what we've seen over the last year at least is a repatriation of workloads. So they're coming.
Where are they going to?
Well, so they're coming. The two reasons they're coming back. We did a survey last year, and 46% of cloud workloads repatriate. Okay, half of those were because they were never going to stay in the cloud in the first place. If you look at DevOps environments, then they moved production somewhere else. The other half migrated back for a number of reasons.
Cost their own data center? Or?
To their own data center or to a local service provider.
Okay.
So it's to the customer's data center or service provider.
And then you're saying the trigger is?
Cost, security, compliance.
You say cost is one of the drivers, either to go back, but it's also one of the main concerns, both for the partners as well as for the end users.
Yeah.
The unpredictability, I would say, about the cost of the hyperscalers, is that where the specialists of the local cloud providers can add their value?
I think it is, because when people start to design their infrastructures on a hyperscalers, it sort of grows. We've seen this in industry over God knows how long. Things creep, servers creep up, virtual machines creep up, costs creep up. And I think as people have built things in the hyperscale world, and it's fantastic for the things that they do there, they suddenly realize there's a dependency on an application somewhere else. So all of a sudden there's a network issue, or they need to supply a content delivery network that they didn't build into it in the first place. So that becomes complex. Or they want better DR, or they want DR with a specific recovery location that's still compliant. And all of these things add cost and complexity. I think that's where our partners can really start to add the value, because this is something they've done from day one in their own data centers. So now they're just doing it across different platforms.
I was struck by AWS a few months ago. I had them in a session we did on go-to-market strategies. And one thing they said, and I thought it was quite unique, is that they incentivize their partners to make an optimum use of their resources instead of the largest use. And they incentivize on bringing the cost down if there's no use of it. I think that's one of a big differentiator.
I think it is, and it sort of again goes back to a partner's value proposition. Don't get me wrong, we all want to get more revenue per customer, but you want happy customers.
Yes.
And if you're constantly going to them with continuous improvement and continuous innovation, then you're going to have a happy customer. If we look at old outsourcing contracts, they were I'll do your how would you phrase it without being rude? I'll do your mundane tasks, but I'll do them cheaper. And that was the value proposition. But as you saw over the last 10 years, continual innovation had to be built into those contracts. So I think we've just seen the extension of that into the hyperscalers.
If we're getting into the issue continuous innovations, what are the continuous innovations that we can expect from Veeam?
Well, I think we're known for our
not even the continuous, but the new innovation.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are known for our continuous innovation, and I wouldn't want to steal the thunder of some of my colleagues in product management that would want to tell you about the new things. We've just launched the latest version of Office 365 version 6, which now has a front-end portal, which our partners have been asking for a very long while. Yeah. We've announced version 12. To make better use of back-end storage, whatever that may be, particularly S3 storage, so being able to write directly to that. And I think some of the areas where you don't see the innovation, but there is innovation coming, is how we deal with our partners. One of the things that we want to make easier is how our partners interface to us and deal with us. So there's a lot of work at the back end on automation of our systems, automation into the channel systems, to make us easier to deal with.
So automation of your internal systems,
absolutely.
So everything is working.
The way we deal with distribution, the way we deal with the VARs, the way we deal with license management, the way we deal with reporting. These are all important things as the partners start to scale. So yes, you're going to see the frontline innovation of the new products that we bring out and the new technologies. We've announced backup for Salesforce, which we think is going to be a huge market for us over the coming years. But when you scale like we do, we're now at $1 billion, have been for the last year. And, we've heard our new CEO state, we want to get to be a 10 billion organization. Now, you can't do that if you don't innovate internally and get your processes right and make yourself easy to deal with.
And it's innovation internally, or is the growth also buying other companies?
That's one you'd have to ask my CEO, but we've never been shy about buying companies. We made the Cast acquisition probably a couple of years ago now, and that's added a real boost to our sales in terms of covering containers and Kubernetes. And it's a massive trend in the market on app modernization. Again, initially driven by the hyperscalers, but we're now seeing some of the service provider partners coming in with their own offerings, particularly around production environments.
Okay.
So we'd never rule out acquisitions.
Yeah, that
can imagine.
Yeah. What we do in these interviews is ask somebody a question to ask their successor. Mm-hmm. So before we had Ludo Bouw from Intermax, and he asked a question he wanted us to pass to you. Yep. And that is, it has to do with the current situation in the world today, which is difficult, of course, with the troubles in the East.
Yep.
Veeam has some history with Russia. Can you a little bit elaborate what it does to Veeam? Or what it means to Veeam?
What it means to Veeam. We have a Russian heritage. Our founders were Russian. They founded the company, I think 2008. Yeah. We have a lot of work. Some of our workforce is in St. Petersburg. So it's been a very difficult time for everybody. Yeah. We, like many other vendors, have now paused new sales into Russia until the situation sorts itself out, whichever way that may be. Mm-hmm. But, one of the things that's been very key to what we want to do is support Ukraine. So, for instance, our software is now free to any Ukrainian company for at least the next year. Mm-hmm. That's a decision we made very early. I mentioned we've paused new sales into Russia, particularly for those sanctioned companies. But then most importantly, we need to support our workforce. Our workforce have been with us for a very long while. So we need to support that Russian workforce and make sure that they're safe and we don't put them at risk. So we've done a lot of work internally to make sure that happens.
That's a huge challenge, I would guess. And
it is I would say it's a challenge, but despite the grey hairs around this table, we haven't seen this situation before.
Absolutely.
This is new for all of us.
Absolutely.
And, the safety and security of our personnel is absolutely utmost in our minds. And we've done a lot of work to do that. We've, from our initial Russian heritage, if you like, we've moved a lot of our services outside of Russia as we've grown. We've had to. We've had to become a global company. Yeah. So we have, development is done out of Prague. We have 3 or 4 different support centers around the globe because we have to provide 24-hour follow the sun cover. Mm-hmm. So it's had an impact, but it's been really about supporting our employees.
Can imagine.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that one.
Yeah.
The last one, to pass on to the next one, will be a little bit challenging, perhaps. Ronald Steenbakkers is the next, and he is an M&A expert.
Oh, okay.
He's helped a lot of hosting companies finding their partners in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Is there a question you could think of to ask him on the M&A in hosting? Or any other subject.
That is a really, I mean, when I look at the M&A markets across the whole of EMEA, the Benelux region is still probably one of the most active I've seen. I'd be interested to ask him where the funds are coming from for the VC funds. What are the types?
You mean geographically or?
No, geographically or industry-wise.
Okay.
Because, with most of the funds that are out there that, how do you pronounce it? Waterland?
Yeah.
One of the big ones. They get their money from sort of institutional investors.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting to know how that's changed over the last several years as, cloud has become more dominant. Who are the institutional investors who are investing in this and why?
Great question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
One last question about CloudFest. What do you want to see next year on CloudFest?
Probably more people. Having been to this event many times, it doesn't seem as busy this year as previous years. And I think the demographic is a lot of web hosting, a lot of volume hosting. I think I'd like to see more of a focus on some of the more value-added hosting partners and catering to their needs as well. I know the traditions of the show have come from the web hosting world, hence the old name.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to develop on from that.
Yeah. Okay.
Where can we find you if somebody wants to see you or get in contact with you?
No. What time of day?
Normally.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say at the bar. You can contact me direct by email if you want to, graham.crich@veeam.com. If anybody has any questions, then please reach out to me.
We will also make a post on our website and present your details.
Thank you very much for this talk.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great show.
Thank you for asking me.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bedankt voor het luisteren naar de podcast van SaaS for Channel. Wilt u meer weten over wat er besproken is? Kijk dan op onze website saasforchannel.nl.